Welcome to Hard-Hitting News 365. Let's get into it.
We're never going to forget what it looks like when Palestinians hold their children in plastic bags.
Who gives a shit?
Okay, but don't you feel like, for example, children?
Children grow up to be Arabs.
We need to kill Arabs. No.
Today we're looking at 5 clips from Abby Martin's video, Abby Martin Went to Israel. It's worse than you think. This is not going to be a blind reaction. We're going to separate emotion from evidence, rhetoric from fact, and moral outrage from legal judgment. Abby makes some very serious claims about Gaza, Israel, propaganda, and the language used to justify violence. Some of it is difficult to hear, but that is exactly why it needs proper analysis. So let's start with the first clip.
We're never going to forget what it looks like when Palestinians hold their children in plastic bags. No one can forget that. I'm never going to forget the sound of a drone emitting a crying baby so it can massacre children who come out of their homes.
قوات كاب ترقط صوت أطفال الآن من مخيم انصارات. امبارح استشهدوا شاب طلع مسكين يشوف إيش الصوت في مدرسة طبعا طلع والله جانا صوت.
And get lured like a cat and mouse. No one's going to forget that. No one's going to forget what it looks like in Gaza today. You can't wash that away. You can't paper over that with degenerate propaganda, base-level lies.
Abby's point here is brutal, but morally important. Images of dead children and civilian suffering cannot be erased by public relations. The left will see this as proof that Israel's narrative has collapsed. The right will argue Hamas uses civilians, propaganda, and emotional footage to shape opinion. But the evidence-based position is clear. Civilians are protected under international humanitarian law. Children are not legitimate targets. Collective punishment, indiscriminate attacks, forced starvation, and tactics that lure civilians into danger are morally indefensible and legally grave if proven. If a military operation produces mass civilian death, the burden is not on grieving families to justify their pain. The burden is on the state using force to prove necessity, distinction, and proportionality. So Abby is right on the core moral point. You cannot propaganda your way out of dead children. Let's watch the next clip.
I didn't realize how viscerally, grotesquely genocidal Israelis were, how openly fascist they would be to anyone.
Jews shouldn't marry Arabs.
Shouldn't marry Arabs. Why do you feel strongly about that?
Because Jews is a special nation that God gave it to the Jews. We don't want the Arabs to be here.
They knew that they were on camera. That's what's so alarming to me too. I wasn't trying to hide. I wasn't doing gotcha journalism. I was going up with a camera and saying, generally, what do you think about the situation?
I think Israelis have to take over and they have to kick them away.
I was so horrified and alarmed at the genocidal rhetoric that was being espoused. Every single person, for every generation, every walk of life, they wanted ethnic cleansing.
This is probably the most disturbing clip so far because these are not anonymous online comments. They're people speaking openly on camera. The left will argue this exposes a culture where dehumanizing Palestinians has become normalized. The right will respond that Abby selected the most extreme interviews, and they cannot represent an entire nation. The evidence supports one thing beyond dispute. The people shown are expressing racist and exclusionary views, including support for expelling Palestinians because of their ethnicity. That deserves unequivocal condemnation. Advocating ethnic cleansing, racial supremacy, or forced removal of a civilian population is morally wrong and fundamentally incompatible with international law and basic human rights. What this clip proves is that such views exist openly. What it does not prove, on its own, is that all Israelis share them. Let's watch the next clip.
How many civilians have been killed in Gaza, from what you know?
Who gives a shit?
Okay, but don't you feel like, for example, children?
Children grow up to be Arabs.
You have to continue to expel, you have to continue to kill to keep that artificial majority in place.
If you gave me a button to just erase Gaza, every single living being in Gaza would no longer be living tomorrow, I would press it in a second. I would press it right now. Give me that button and press it right now.
There you go.
And I think most Israelis would.
This clip is deeply disturbing, and there is no serious moral defense for what was said there. The left will see it as evidence that eliminationist rhetoric has become normalized. The right will argue this is one interviewee, selected for shock value, and should not be used to condemn an entire population. The evidence-based position is this: the clip proves that openly genocidal and ethnic cleansing rhetoric exists, but it does not prove that most Israelis agree. That claim would need polling and wider evidence. But morally and legally the line is clear. Saying children should die because of who they may grow up to be, or saying every living person in Gaza should be erased, is not political disagreement. It is dehumanization. It is incitement logic. It is morally obscene and fundamentally opposed to international law, civilian protection, and basic human dignity. No state, no religion, no trauma, and no security argument justifies that. Let's watch the next clip.
Every single person, for every generation, every walk of life, they wanted ethnic cleansing. They said we should nuke them. One little girl laughing, we should kill all Arabs. Kill all Arabs.
We need to kill the Arabs. No.
It shows you the impunity back then, the arrogance to just assume this is what you guys think too, right? You're an American, you agree with me. You guys have been doing the same thing. This is who we are.
This is where the language moves beyond politics and into something morally rotten. The left will see this as evidence of open ethnic cleansing rhetoric. The right may argue Abiy is selecting extreme examples and that these views do not represent every Israeli. That caution matters. One clip cannot prove what an entire population believes, but it absolutely can prove that some people are comfortable saying genocidal and racist things openly, even on camera. The objective moral and legal truth is clear. Calling to nuke people, kill Arabs, or remove a population because of ethnicity is indefensible. Under international law, civilians are protected. Incitement to genocide, forced displacement, and collective punishment are not legitimate political opinions. Final verdict: no trauma, no religion, no national story, and no security argument justifies ethnic cleansing or dehumanizing civilians. This rhetoric deserves complete condemnation.
If you value evidence over tribalism, subscribe to Hard-Hitting News 365. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.